Welcome to the Partyology Experience with your host, Prentice. Guys, and welcome to the Partyology Experience. My name is Prentice, and I am the owner of Feel Good Events. And I'm here today with 𝚂𝙾𝙲𝙸𝙰. She's the general manager at Feel Good Events. And we thought it would be a great idea to start a podcast and talk about parties, weddings and events and everything to do with them. And so over the coming weeks, months and years, hopefully we can enlighten you on tips and ideas on all different things to do with events and parties. Now, in today's episode, we're going to talk about, I guess, our backgrounds and why we think we're qualified to talk about these sorts of things. So there'll be a bit about us today, but yes, hopefully in the coming episodes, it'll be more about, tips and how to do things and how to create the best party experience possible. First thing I think I want to talk about is, as a business owner and somebody who's done parties and events for a long time, I always call myself a partyologist, and a lot of people laugh about that, and I have that on my email signature, and people think that's quite funny. I used to sort of take it a bit of tongue-in-cheek a while ago, but now I sort of take it a bit more serious. Partyologist is someone who engages and partakes in the study of parties, and I guess I can honestly say that's something I've done for a long period of time. I've been doing parties for over 25 years, so I really can say that I have studied parties and I study people at parties. The other sort of meaning to it is someone who is extremely proficient in understanding the psychology and key elements of what it takes to plan high quality parties. And I really feel, based on doing a lot of parties, I can add a lot of value for people throwing a party or event or a wedding, and give them great tips and ideas to really make it the party of their life. So Emma, how did you get into events? Tell us your story.
It's not a long story because I'm only 29, but I got into events due to the fact that I was always planning the family gatherings. I was always organising the movie dates with all my girlfriends, sort of a whole range of things I was always organising. Everyone used to go, you should do it at like events or weddings or something like that. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I just sort of did it for fun.
It all sounds fun,
It sounded fun, and I was like, I used to love doing it because I'm so OCD, like organised. I love organising things, and I'm a little bit bossy as well. Probably why I'm general manager here, because I boss everyone around.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But I did really like just that whole element of events. So I decided after school, I did want to do a whole bunch of other things, but I really couldn't pick one thing, and events kept coming back up multiple times. So I really sort of thought, why don't I just give this a go? So I went to 𝚂𝙾𝙲𝙸𝙰 as soon as I finished high school. I went there for 2.5 years and did an advanced diploma of events, which, to be honest, I think was the best thing I did, was go to 𝚂𝙾𝙲𝙸𝙰. They give you so much knowledge. They give you lots of on-site, on doing all the functions yourself.
Work experience?
Yeah, work experience. So you do lots of things that you're not just in a classroom learning words and what you need to do on budgeting and all those exciting things. You're actually learning how to put events together. So for me, that was my funnest part. Yes, all those things come, like budgeting and things like that, but running events is what we do it for.
Yeah. And how many years did you do that for?
So I did 2.5.
Okay.
So 2.5 years I did that, and then after I decided that I wanted to live a little bit, and I went and lived at Florida in the USA, and I actually worked at Disney World, which was quite fun. I think most people get a bit surprised when they hear that I've done that, because it's quite a different thing to do. I didn't go straight into the workforce. I decided I wanted to just go do something for myself. So I did that for 6 months. Lived in America for 6 months, which was a bit of a learning curve. I was only like 21 at the time. So for me as an individual, it was a real growing process. And then I came back, and then actually within a month of me coming back, I actually landed the job here at Feel Good Events. So I have been here for 7 years now. It's crazy to even say it out loud.
Feels like 7 years.
I started here when I was 22, and I'm now nearly 30. But it's been an awesome learning curve for me. I think I started as a part-timer here, just 2 or 3 days a week. Then I led into something that's been, my career for the last 7 years. So I've done every single role under the sun in this business. So I know this business like the back of my hand. So I love it in the fact that I've been able to do just the smaller events, and I've been, and I've watched the business grow as well, which has been such a fantastic thing for me and everyone involved to see. We've gone from, these quite small functions to these larger corporate functions. So we do all those smaller functions still now, but it's just crazy to see how much it's grown in that time. So I think also having the roles and doing multiple roles has been a good thing.
Yeah.
To learn, of course. So that is basically what I have done, but I must say in that 7 years I've done a lot of functions.
Yes.
Some of the years we did thousands, so it's been, lots and lots of functions and lots of different clients and themes, and so there's definitely a lot of practice in there, I can tell you.
What are the couple of functions that have stood out the most, do you think?
I think the ones that you get to be really
Good
creative.
or bad?
Yeah, most of them are good. I don't have any bad stories, which is quite good in the 7 years. I know that's probably not a lot of time in the event industry, but I have had lots of really good experiences, and most of the time it's when the client has given you full trust in doing their function. You can do sort of whatever you want. I know we don't all have that flexibility, but some clients that do, it really gets that creative sort of vibe going. You get to sort of pick what you want to do, all those sort of things. So there was a corporate client we did in the city, which we did a masquerade theme, which I really loved. I got to do everything. So I got to organise the florals, all the decor, furniture, everything basically involved. And the thing that sticks out the most is when the client came into the room and he literally could not stop hugging me. He hugged me probably about 8 times within an hour. And every time I walked past him, he's like, I just can't believe this is the room. I can't believe you've done this. I've never seen anything like it. And for me, it was like all those hours and hours of work, and it's really hard, taking all the furniture in and everything like that. So for me,
yeah, especially when it was at Eureka Tower and 89 floors.
We went up those lifts about 400 times, and I knew what the actual wording was. They did a little speech in the lift, and we knew it off by heart by the end.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But just being able to see the client's reaction, I don't get to see it all the time, unfortunately, because I'm normally here in the office or we're not on site when the full function's done. But it's so rewarding. It makes everything worth it. That is the reason why we do events, and I think most people in the event industry would say the same. It's just the face people give you as soon as they walk in to say, you've not even just hit their expectations, you've just blown it out of the water. So that's my favourite part of being in the events.
So I guess, there's all that excitement of doing events, but also, the joy of working with me every day is always, for 7 years is
a roller coaster ride.
An exciting thing, isn't it? That's right.
Love and hate every day.
So every job, obviously you make it sound so wonderful, Emma.
I do.
I want to work at Feel Good Events or do
rainbows.
events. Yeah. So what's the downfall? There's got to be a downfall.
There is. So I guess in the last couple of years, I've really taken on logistics, and for me, last minute bookings can sometimes sort of be a bit of a hard one for me.
Stressful.
It's not that we don't like taking on last minutes, but it does make my job a little bit harder. It's just making sure that logistically we can, make the client happy, make sure that we're going to be able to deliver on time, all those sort of things as well.
Yeah.
So it does change things around a lot, and it can get very stressful during our peak times. But that's sort of my main sort of logistic issue. I guess another sort of hard one with events is that people's expectations are a lot higher in regards to cost. So they might have an amazing photo of something that they love on Pinterest, but the cost would be 4 times the amount of their budget. So it's not a con to the industry, but sometimes it is a hard thing that I don't think clients fully understand how much things cost, and that sometimes you let them down. And I feel like it makes me upset that I'm letting someone down for something that they've probably seen on Pinterest for months, and they're like, I just want to have that theme, and then you let them down by the cost.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of thing as well. I think by education and things like that, I think we'll be able to teach people that things aren't always, cheap. They're quite expensive. They're custom builds, but they're probably my 2 negatives of sort of being in the event industry. But they're not, they're things that come with the job. You're good and the bad.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad at all. And we have so many lovely clients, and it is a nice. I come to work and I plan functions and parties for people. It can't be that bad, can it really?
Yeah. It sounds great. I want to do it.
You do it.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot. Well, sort of to a point.
Yeah, well, you're here bossing everyone around as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I guess that then leads into me. My role is a bit different, being the owner of the business, and especially these days we're a lot bigger than we used to be. So in the old days I used to, a bit like you, do it all and do bookings and all that sort of stuff. Now I'm a bit more selective and have to worry about all sorts of things like taxes and accountants and all the boring stuff like that. So yes, but if I was to get into why I got into events, I've always loved music. Big into all sorts of music. When I was about 16, sort of found a love for parties, and the first thing that I ever did that sort of maybe was a hint of where I was going to head in the future was for a school assignment in Year 12. We had to do a thing called a communication project, and for mine I put on a party and with a group of other friends, and we had to write all about what we'd organised, and we videoed it and all that sort of stuff, and then get up and do a presentation afterwards. And I sort of at that point I got into DJing as well, And so that was my start of, I guess, my party journey. When I left high school, I didn't know really where I wanted to go. I didn't go to university because I was still very unsure on what to do. And so I just sort of worked part-time. I was DJing a fair bit on the weekends. I knew I still loved doing that, so I DJ'd in nightclubs and parties and pubs and did all that sort of stuff, as you do as a young guy. And yes, then on my honeymoon, I decided, had a bit of an epiphany, and much to the disgust of my wife.
On your honeymoon.
On my honeymoon, decided that I was going to start a DJ business full time. And so I told my wife that I was going to throw in my job and start up a business doing DJing full time. And she was very supportive, of course, but she said, "Why did you wait till our honeymoon to tell us that?"
There's a reason.
Anyway, it can't have been that bad because we're still married after
Yes.
22 years, I think it is
There
now.
you go.
So
That's fine.
yeah, so and that was my start of my journey. And so then I started up a DJ business that I ran from home, and we had kids, and I was a stay-at-home dad, and I looked after my 2 daughters while they were young. And because I was running a DJ business, it was all on the weekends, so I could DJ on the weekends and at night time. So it worked really well from a family functioning type of point of view. And I slowly built that up, and got to the point where I had a dozen DJs and lots of equipment, and I just ran it from home, and it was great. It was very flexible. I was doing lots and lots of parties, and I just loved it. And I couldn't believe, for many years, I couldn't believe that I was getting paid to do that, because I just loved it so much. These days, sometimes, some parties, depending if they're not going too well, I'm like, I'm glad I'm getting paid for this. And, but most of the time, I'd do it for free if I could.
Yeah.
Anyway, about 12 years ago, I think it's 12 years, Feel Good Events has been around. 12
June.
years, yep. I decided to grow the business, and we moved into equipment hire, and we started doing speakers and lights and those sorts of things. And that has just progressed from there right into furniture and dance floors and all sorts of draping and styling products. And I guess we still have that really party focused, but just a real mix of products and styling stuff. And Emma came on board about 7 years ago and has really helped grow the business, and along with all the other staff that we've had, and building up to a staff to sort of 20 odd staff, and more in the busy times, and doing literally thousands of functions a year. So we've really come a long way in the business, and really developed. But because I've been a DJ, and I still DJ for a long time, still DJing now, I should say, and that's getting close to 30 years, and I still do love doing that, and that keeps me grounded, because that's why I started the business in the first place. And I really do love seeing people have fun. That's what it's all about. I love making people feel good, hence the Feel Good Events. That's the only reason that's why I did this business. I didn't do it to make money, because it's very hard to make money in businesses if you own a business. I really did it because I like people seeing people have a great time. And like Emma said, that you've made my day, made my night. Doesn't matter what type of event it is. If we've decorated the space and created an experience for the guests that is the best that they can have, then that's what it's all about. And for this podcast, it's really about that. It's about we can tell you how to do certain things, how to decorate your space, how to set up your venue, all that sort of stuff. But it's more about creating a great experience for our clients, and we look at it really from almost like a scientific perspective, and making sure all those elements come together to create the best experience possible for the guests and for the person or the couple having that event. It's not about just making it look pretty. We're all about that. We can do that. We do that every week. But there is so much more to it than that. And hopefully over this podcast, that's what we're going to discuss. And you'll see that, okay, it's great if you've got big budgets and you've got $50,000 or $100,000 to spend on your event. We can make it look awesome. But that doesn't always guarantee it's going to be the best party. There's always lots of other elements that will go into it to create that great experience for people. And it could be, the size of the venue, the way the space is set up so that people stay connected. If the space is not set up in the right way, it can make people feel disconnected, and then the function doesn't go as well, or the energy or the atmosphere in the room is not as good. So that's what we're all about, and we talk about that sort of stuff day and night. So even when we do photos, we sometimes do photo shoots. we can make it look good in the photos, but we probably would do it different if we were doing it for a client, because it might not be as functional or create the best experience on the day. And that's what the bottom line is. It's creating that best experience on the day. We'll share lots of tips. We've got lots of stories to tell about parties and events, especially doing so many. I've DJ'd at so many events, from nudist clubs to nightclubs to, I've done everything, I think, except for a funeral. I say that all the time. Not that I'd really want to DJ at a funeral. I can't see it being an exciting event.
No.
Done so many different types of events in different spaces, places, outside, inside. Cryle Castle to the aquarium to, Eureka Tower, all sorts of function spaces. So I've seen a lot in the 30 years, and it's making me sound really, really old.
It is, sorry.
You wouldn't think I'm only 35, would you? That's what it's going to be all about. Hopefully it won't be boring for you, and we hope that you will tune in to listen to lots more podcasts in the future. So thanks for listening, and you'll hear from us soon. Thanks for listening to the Partyology Experience with your host, 𝚂𝙾𝙲𝙸𝙰. Don't forget to subscribe or check out our website for more party tips and expert advice at 𝚂𝙾𝙲𝙸𝙰.com.au.